Hi, everybody. Welcome to episode 38.2 of the No Name Cinema Society. And I apologize in advance if you watched the last show that you know that our graphics are down potentially forever. We usually show photos and graphics. We're a very visual group, and we actually talked about canceling it when we realized that they weren't working. But we're powering through and doing the best we can. And it went better than I thought last time. Let's see what the other guys think in just a second. Our indie spotlights throughout 2016, our indie spotlights have been from 5 years ago, 2011. And obviously it's 2017 officially now, but since we're still reviewing current features from 2016, like Live by Night, like we just talked about, then we're still going to review 2011 films. But this will be our last 2011 film that we've looked at this year. That we look at. Originally, it was not deemed indie enough because it has Seth Rogen in it mainly, but it did cost about $8 million, so it's under the $10 million threshold. And our justification for doing it is it did get 3 Independent Spirit Award nominations, including Best Picture and a win for Best Screenplay. If I knew that this movie was eligible, it would have been my first recommendation actually of the year. On my top 10 of 2011, 50/50 was number 3. So it'll be interesting to see what these guys have to say about it. Let me introduce these guys so you know what I'm talking about. First, our very own Joseph Gordon-Levitt type. Ladies and gentlemen, Drunk Davey.
What's happening?
Hey, that's him. You don't know it because he doesn't have a graphic. And also, ladies and gentlemen, our very own Seth Rogen, J Money.
Why am I Seth Rogen in this situation? You could have made me like Bryce Howard, whatever her name is. That would have been fine. Seth Rogen. Come on. We'll see what the viewers have to say. And viewers, by the way, feel free to text or tweet during the show. Hopefully, Davey will catch the tweets since he talks the least. But you can text me if you know me. Oh, there's a tidbit alert coming. Oh, that's really fun. But before I do that, the tidbit, I'm going to do the evening schedule. It was a little something like this. We just did Live by Night at 8 o'clock Eastern, 5 o'clock Pacific. We're now doing 50/50. The Indie Spotlight, our classic, coming up at 9 Eastern, 6 Pacific, is Coal Miner's Daughter from 1980. And then we got to sound off our freeform segment in which Davey's going to rant about something. I'm going to revisit a film from 1990, and I'm going to do a top 5. And we're going to talk about Ants Around Town. Oh, look at that! Hey. Bring it back. I didn't have it up. Show it again. Is it too late? What, tidbit alert?
No. That what you had up there, the schedule.
We're done.
This is great.
Well, I mean, I whatever. Just play along, for God's sakes.
I like it.
Yeah, that's good stuff right there. He's our graphics designer, ladies and gentlemen. Now the tidbit alert, because we did some what do you call it, trivia. And the trivia on Facebook was that the director of this and stars of this film, tidbit alert, yep, the director and stars of this film reunited in 2015 for the holiday comedy The Night Before, and that, of course, is director Jonathan Levine, and the Drunk Davey type Joseph Gordon-Levitt, and the J Money type Seth Rogen. They were all in The Night Before with director Jonathan Levine. I'm gonna go with Levine. And so I didn't see The Night Before. Did either of you guys see that one?
I did not.
No.
Okay. It seems like a Davey Joe movie.
Yeah, I felt like Davey Joe did.
What does that mean, by the way?
Well, we'll see how the audience feels. I'm going to summarize the movie real quick before we get started. Can you draw a picture of that scene where they shave the head? Can you do that real quick?
I could do that. It's like
you're going to try and do that?
Keep going.
20-something Adam Lerner discovers that he's a tumor, and he has to face it with friends and family, none of whom really know how to deal with the shocking news. That's all I got in terms of a summary. How do you guys feel about that summary?
I wish you had gone slower.
Pretty good.
We don't have time. We got to power through. We started late. We got to catch up. I did get a note from a viewer though that apparently I worry about the time too much during the broadcast.
I think.
Well, I mean, you say that now. You say like, "Oh, I agree with that," but then at the end of the night, when the sound off is dragging, you're like, "Let's wrap this up."
It's not. You can worry about it. Just
you don't have to announce it. That's what she's saying. It's not telling you.
There it is. Look at that. Seth Rogen shaving. Yeah. That's like the highlight of every show that we've done. That's the best thing ever.
Should be fine.
A graphic designer, ladies and gentlemen, coming through in the clutch.
See, now, if we had graphics, that would not have happened. That would've been-
That's true. That's true. It's a happy accident not having any professional-looking photos. Anyway, so this is now the official end of my 2011 recommendations. And again, I would have recommended it first. If it was eligible. I initially had it ranked higher than Shame on my top 10 of 2011. I might, now that I've rewatched a lot of these, I might rework that. But regardless, I still think it's a remarkable film. I started crying 10 minutes in, and I never really stopped. The screenplay won all the awards, partially because the writer is the one who actually went through the experience of contracting cancer and having the operation, etc. Upon second viewing, however, I was really struck by the direction. I mean, I think it's perfect tonally, a great balance between comedy and drama that is Wilder-esque in its precision, and updated for the modern age. I think quite frankly, it's a masterpiece of honesty, humor, and humanity, and one that took me by surprise given the people involved. Let's see what these guys have to say. David Joe, you're up first.
No, I agree with everything you said, and I loved the film, and I've said it, I guess, a couple times before, but if I was the type of person that cried at movies, this would have been one.
For a person that doesn't cry at movies, he uses that line an awful lot. And I might have a visitor coming by my frame here. Let's see if this cat. The cat is literally at the computer right now. I'm afraid he's going to knock over my beer. He's right there. Might as well say hi.
It's their best fan.
Yay!
Hello.
Not want to be on camera. So, J Money, opening thoughts.
Well, I mean, as you know, JB, I have a heart of stone, and nothing can touch me. So, keeping in that tradition, I did not really buy into a lot of the things you're suggesting with this movie. I'm not going to say it's bad. I think it's a fine movie. I just felt like it felt flat and not incredibly genuine, ultimately.
Wow, that's that hurts Davy Joe and me. Davy, do you have a rebuttal for that?
Well, wow, really? It felt
It's not really a rebuttal. I mean, are you sure you're a lawyer? It's a good thing you're not a trial lawyer.
who specifically was it? Like the performances that you didn't feel were
No, honestly, I guess I would put it down to the script. I guess ultimately, I mean, I think that I felt like it had a very flat, not very. There were things that definitely stuck out, but I feel like overall it didn't feel like it really dove into what I would expect for somebody dealing with this kind of crisis. It felt like kind of a bro-y movie about some dudes that were dealing with a failing relationship, and then an exploration of how they really feel about facing their own mortality. And it felt all very surface to me. It didn't really feel like there was a lot going on beyond that. So
yeah, I mean, they definitely didn't get into the nitty-gritty of the ugliness of chemo. I mean, it was very surface.
yes, that bothered me quite a bit, actually. That if
I mean, like, do you really feel like that's the case? I mean, I feel like there was a great deal of chemo scenes. I mean, like, I certainly feel like between the makeup choices, etc., they suggested the toll it was taking. Do you need to actually like see every little detail?
I don't think you need to. No, but they didn't. That's for sure.
I feel like in this situation they kind of glossed over it by not showing some stuff, and to me that didn't really make sense if they're talking about this guy's personal journey through the process. You know, to me it's like we sort of saw the side effects, but we didn't really see him actually go through a lot. We saw him be upset, but we didn't really actually see the problem too much.
Well, I mean, I think the problem sort of speaks for itself, though. I mean, like I said, like it sort of struck me early on and had an impact. So I don't know how much more of an impact those scenes would have had. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like that. I think it's a good omission, in the sense that I don't know what it would have added. I mean, detail maybe, but I mean, like, certainly, I don't think it would have added to my depth of feeling.
Well, then I guess we read this differently. You know, for me, it's just because they excluded certain things and because it felt like it was much more about the surface part of his life around this that it didn't resonate for me as a central conflict for him.
Well, I mean, like one thing you said about the screenplay, I mean, the screenplay is the thing that got a lot of the attention in the awards. I think it also got a WGA nomination. And again, part of that is, I think, is that the story behind it being the writer having gone through the cancer, and the writer actually went to high school with Seth Rogen, so like there's this long time companionship there. But the thing about tone, though, and we talk about this sometimes with directors, is regardless of the script, every choice or lack of choice that the director makes either adds or subtracts to that balance. And that the maintenance of that is pretty tricky. And that's why I think the direction is noteworthy. And I also feel like, you know, like the script gets attention because of the snappy dialogue, but I think the director creates such an environment that is open to improvisation. Like everything feels very natural and lived in, and like it feels like the actors aren't necessarily reading lines. And I'm not sure, given what I know about the actors, how much of that is really on the page. So I don't know that it's really the screenplay that's the hero of the movie for me. To me, I feel like it's you know, what the director is bringing to the table and what he's not doing necessarily in terms of using the camera to, you know, manipulate us. You know, he's sort of letting the actors work within the frame, and we'll talk about that even a little more with Coal Miner's Daughter, I think. In terms of, so you're talking about like screenplay being an issue, and I do agree that screenplay may be overrated, but I mean, but I think that
I said the script specifically, not the screenplay, just to be fair. Because ultimately, I didn't feel like there was snappy dialogue.
They're the same thing. Script and screenplay are the same thing.
Well, not quite. I mean, we're talking about the actual written word here, aren't we?
Oh, all right.
I'm saying
script and screenplay are the same thing.
I think the dialogue was. I don't feel like there was snappy dialogue in this. I didn't feel it that way at all, and I felt like the improvisation felt very much. Obviously improvised between Seth Rogen and Joseph Gordon-Levitt, and I felt like that took me out of it as well. I guess I feel like there were, you know, that to me is actually one of the larger problems I have with this film.
See, I mean, I think the improv makes it feel like, you know, you talked about it being bro-y, but that relationship really, you know, landed for me. I mean, I feel like it was, it felt like an honest portrayal of a good friendship. I mean, like that's the way you and I talk when, you know, when we're all bro-y.
No, we don't talk that way that much. And also, JB, that means I am the Seth Rogen in that scenario. If I am Seth Rogen in this,
you are clearly the Seth Rogen in this scenario. I mean, our viewers are going to chime in. They're all going to agree with me.
Oh my God, you know, Seth Rogen's great. I have no problem with anyone that's involved in this film. And frankly, if it's this guy's personal vision about what happened to him, then it is genuine. Obviously, like I can't really criticize this guy for talking about how it affected him personally. But I just didn't. To me, there were enough factors that took me out of the actual process of it that I couldn't really get into the characters.
Well, you have heard, ladies and gentlemen, about the movie Hands of Stone with Robert De Niro. Now you can see Hearts of Stone right here on J Money's face. When he said the dialogue was no good, Davy Joe, you had a visceral reaction to that.
That's crazy. Yeah, I know. That I think was the best part about the film. You know, the back and forth between Joseph Gordon-Levitt and Seth Rogen, I thought was really.
I would posit that this film is definitely made for you kind of guys. I mean, you guys definitely like you fit into this whole situation, you know, in a certain way. Like I understand why it was a voice.
Did that sound condescending to anybody else but me, or?
That's fine. You know, this is a very specific kind of male voice in this film, and it's the kind of thing that I've never personally really been, you know, part of. So that's why it didn't speak to me. But it's a very.
I've seen your male voice in action at the Golden Globe party, so I know.
That's true.
I've been on the receiving end of that male voice before, and let me.
I don't think it was my voice that you were on the receiving end of.
Oh. Things are getting Saved by the Bell before things got out of hand. So with massive disagreement on this movie, and I feel badly because I mean I feel like for the most of 2011 movies we've been really you know. I think everyone's, for the most part, I think, Davey, you've liked all of them. I've obviously liked all of them. I've recommended them all. But this is, you know, this is a higher recommendation for me. And J Money, this is like among the first that you've been down on. Conspirator, I guess, was the other one.
Yeah. Yeah. And, you know, I don't think this is a bad movie. You know, it's a fine movie as far as I'm concerned. It's fine.
I want to see a movie you hate.
We did see movies I hate. We see them every week.
You should, what about the thing we just did like at 8 o'clock?
This is how we talked about.
Were you present for that or what? All right, so we're running out of time. I'm trying to feel like if there's a well, I guess I just want to make one final point about direction, and that is this is, I mean, I don't want to say this is a great Seth Rogen performance, but I do think this is the best use of Seth Rogen in a movie. And I do feel like that is partially how director Jonathan Levine handled him. Like, you know, like it's almost like the way Barry Levinson handled Robin Williams in Good Morning Vietnam, and sort of like giving him a wide berth, but not too wide, because a lot of early Robin Williams performances, he's out of control. And Seth Rogen, like, you know, by letting him be, obviously he's playing himself. He almost always plays himself. But I mean, by letting him go to a certain degree, it really added to this movie more than any other movie that I feel like he's been in.
Okay. I mean, yeah, I see your point, certainly.
So, I mean, I feel like it's another thing that Jonathan Levine does really well. Davey Joe, give me something, some sort of feedback on that.
Yeah, I mean, it basically, I think it's probably because the writer knew him and he was probably around, you know, when it was happening for real. So it kind of
that is true.
Yeah, it was kind of perfect. You know, it was a perfect setup for letting him just, you know, kind of reenact reality. So, yeah.
Okay, so unfortunately, we don't have a lot of time for this. I can tell you that we are going in March, once we do our big year in review in February. In March, we're going on our sound off. We're going to do a top 5 2011 movies.
JB.
And that I'm going to get to you in a second about that, J Money. Just give me a break. I saw it. I can see you doing it. Do you still have that shaving head photo drawing available though?
Yeah,
because I feel like that needs another like a reprise.
Should have had like a closing out photo for us all to share.
Yeah, there. Look at that. On the fly, he did that. That's the poster from 50/50. Anyway, so yeah, we're gonna do a top 5. These guys, it'll be brand new to you. And for me, I think I'm gonna have them in a different order than I presented them to you this year. So that'll be because I feel differently about some of them. I still like them all, but I mean some of them maybe a little more than I thought, some a little less than I thought. So I think that'll be interesting. And so that'll be our top 5 and way down the line in March. One thing, of course, our next show next evening is we're not going to be doing this again until February 23rd. Hopefully we'll have graphics back in which we're going to do our year in review. So we haven't come up with the times yet because we were a little long last year, so we're going to look at various options. But we're going to do our top 10 films of 2016, each of us. We're going to do an Oscar preview, and of course, the one you're all looking forward to is our 1966 in review, which is 50 years ago. We'll be looking at the Oscar race from 1966. A lot of big plans for February 23rd. In the meantime, though, the tonight continues with our next classic, and that, oh, look at that. There it is. Coal Miner's Daughter. Even though it's spelled wrong on that slate there.
Not my problem. Not my problem.
It's Coal Miner's Daughter.
It's Datter.
Dagder. So 1980, Sissy Spacek won an Oscar Best Actress, and we're going to talk about it coming up shortly. Probably 9:05, let's say. All right. See you guys then.